Balzac Tower in beautiful Zurich. No, wait a minute.
What?
That's the wrong statement. I'll start again.
Balzac Tower.
All right, it's Sunday. There you go. It's Sunday, and here from Ybor City, where it all began at
Gary's other
1714.
show.
What? Have we started yet?
Yeah, we're starting.
Okay.
That was
Live
my fault.
Sunday from 1714 North 7th Avenue in Ybor City, the Chillum CBD Dispensary and Gallery. It's time to jump into the rotation.
I love that.
See,
song.
that worked out just fine.
Yeah, I love that song. When we do it, like when we're prepared and we do it, things like we're on top of shit.
We're always prepared. We just don't look that way.
It like looks really good when we do things right.
Well, my name is Gary Stein. I'm the political director of Suncoast Normal. This is my deputy director, our deputy director, Carlos. I love to grind things up, Armida.
your best friend, Gary.
Absolutely. And from above the Beltway, Chris Cano, our man about DC and every place else that needs to be done, who is our executive director of Suncoast Normal.
The boss man.
And our special guest today from probably one of the most premier cannabis clinics in Florida, the Venice Compassionate Care Clinic in Venice, Dr. Barry Gordon. Hey, Barry, how you doing today?
Thanks, Gary. You know what? You make one of the most common mistakes that happens. We are actually probably the only clinic that has cannabis in our name. It's Compassionate Cannabis Clinic, Compassionate Care Clinic. Steal my logo and all that. It's okay. It's all good. But Compassionate Cannabis Clinic, listen, proudly so in Venice, Florida, of course.
Yeah,
and proud Cleveland Browns fan. Listen, I love the orange background. It matches where I'm at. We got one more maybe big game in us this year. So go Browns.
Barry, I understand that your clinic had the most patients registered at one point. Is that still the truth? Is that still a fact?
No, early on we were in that top 5 hit list on the pattern review. And they put out a report every year. They just did it actually a couple weeks ago, Gary. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to that or see the report. I'm still well into the top 10 or something like that. It's hard to say because they actually codify the names of the doctors. So earlier on, it was kind of hard to tell who I think I was AU on one of the reports or something like that. I'm not sure who I really am now. And I'll be honest with you, I really don't want to be an outlier, And listen, as we get into it,
you just want to be like everybody else. You can't be like everybody else, Barry. You're better.
Listen, people say, why don't you have 8 Dr. Barry centers? And I like to say, because I like the quality of just having one center that I focus on. And then it allows me to do the legislative thing and come on shows like this and really participate in the advocacy community, so to speak. I think if you have too many centers, it's hard to control the quality. And, I think everybody that does the business of cannabis in the state will tell you that the hardest part of it is finding doctors that actually care, respect the plant, respect the patients. And you know what I mean? That's kind of my simple hashtag these days. And, we'll get into it as we talk about the learned Roach bill, which is interesting. And, as we go towards legal adult use in Florida, to me, it's all about respecting the citizens, respecting the patient, and respecting the plant. If you don't respect the plant and educate patients about the plant, all the cannabinoids, all the routes of administration, what modern cannabis is really all about, then I don't think you're really participating in it from the right side.
Let's just take a step back for a minute. Barry, a lot of folks know that you started out, not started out, but you were for many years involved as a emergency room doctor. I think you got out just in time because I know a lot of people who are emergency room doctors right now who are having to take mental health breaks over what they've had to endure over the last 2 years. And so you got into a different industry. Explain how you segued from the emergency room to being a cannabis doctor and one of the first ones to be registered in Florida.
Yeah, thanks, Gary. I did 35 years of emergency medicine up in Ohio. I was one of the first to do emergency medicine as a specialty. When I went into emergency medicine back in 81, and you'll appreciate the story, Gary, because you had one too. My Jewish dad said to me, because I said, Dad, I found this great specialty. It's brand new. It's emergency medicine, and it's perfect for me because I was never a scientist. I was always a communications major. And, listen, when you grow up Jewish in Akron, Ohio, born in 56, you only have three choices in life. You're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, or you're going to go into your dad's business. You took a slightly different route, but still you had to be a professional. But I always remember my dad saying, God damn it, I didn't send you to med school to go work in some emergency room somewhere. Go get yourself a real job. So I was a pioneer back then in emergency medicine. But my point is, in the 35 years that I did emergency medicine, I saw what happened in America and what killed people. It was alcohol, of course, narcotic overdose crisis. Chris and Carlos, you guys will be interested in this. I think Gary knows. I've told him this. In my first 16 years of my career between 84 and 2000, I think I did 6 combined narcotic overdoses in those entire 16 years in big city ERs. Because, listen, heroin was around and heroin addicts used it, but they didn't overdose on heroin. They knew what they were doing, so to speak, and they may not have been the healthiest of communities, but they weren't overdosing. It wasn't until the pill mill crisis, and a lot of it generated from Florida pills that percolated up to Ohio, that later on in my career, obviously we're up to, 16 a month. I wouldn't say 16 a day, but the days of people getting on an airplane in Akron, Ohio and flying down to Fort Lauderdale and literally going to 4 different clinics and getting 200 Percocets at each clinic, and then flying up to Ohio and splitting with the Percocet dealer who paid for the flight. And they would do that over and over. And Gary, that article that came out of the Palm Beach Post a 3 years ago chronicled that. So I saw the narcotic overdose crisis, but in my 35 years, I never shoved a tube down anybody's throat over an overdose of cannabis. Can't physiologically happen, as we all know. Never took care of a husband and wife pair or any domestic partner pair in more, being more politically correct. Nobody beats up their partner after smoking a joint together. You guys tell me if you've ever seen it. And I never lost a friend to cannabis or a friend's kid to cannabis. I've lost them to alcohol, drugs, women, gambling, tobacco, depression, suicide, gun violence, and everything else. And, to me, time
what's interesting, Barry, is that me and Kano actually met each other at a marijuana school. I don't know if you know this, but we were both employed in like a marijuana school, and it was in Temple Terrace. There was a bunch of different locations and whatnot, but the one I'm speaking of specifically is in Temple Terrace. And Gary is very familiar with Medical Marijuana Tampa. He's one of our biggest supporters, but Medical Marijuana Tampa was the school, and Kano taught history. I taught business, and I taught some cultivation and whatnot. And it was right next door to a pill mill, right? So like we'd be hanging out outside, just kind of hanging out, and like these junkies would, like, I don't know if that's the right thing to say, junkies or whatnot, but like these patients of the pill mill, I guess you would say, would come up to us every single day and say, you know what? I'm so happy you guys are doing this. And like, we're just like selling classes on how to grow marijuana, selling classes on the history of cannabis and things like that. And they're like, I hate coming here every day. I hate it, but I got to,
I was always concerned why you had to put in a number to get through the keypad on the door, and the only thing they had in there they were growing was peppers.
No, I mean, literally, I blame the doctors at the time for being complicit in the conspiracy and the death. I mean, people would die literally in the parking lot on Thursday. They'd have to close down on Friday, and then they'd be open again on Monday, peddling the same shit, Yeah. And that was terrible. And we should never be drawn into that pill mill, analogy. Listen, we still are, we still have to fight that all the time.
We really we don't understand, this is a touchy subject for me. I haven't really spoken much about what's happened to friends of mine in the past year or so, but my business partner succumbed to addiction again. He relapsed, and I also had a girlfriend that died the beginning of 2020. And her specific situation was she would self-medicate, right? It wasn't necessarily that she was like doing pills recreationally. She was buying Percocet off of the black market because her back hurt, right? And she got some fentanyl. And what happened was she died. So I've had quite a few issues with that shit for the past couple
Carlos,
of years.
I'm so sorry. I did not.
No, that's okay.
No, it's not okay. No, it's not okay. And
Yeah.
I say this to you: there are one pill overdoses out there, okay, literally that were
Mhm.
not around when I was doing emergency medicine. That's my point. We
Yeah.
have to look at 2020. We have to look at 2021 as 2021. That's why I'm happy, ready, willing, and able to go up to Tallahassee and fight the battle, not just for the medical side, which is what we have now, but as we move towards legal adult use. It's a plant, it's appropriate. We're wired for it. We have an endocannabinoid system. No one's ever overwhelmed by it to catastrophic consequence. And I'm so sorry for your losses, and I mean
No,
it. It's not
you're
okay.
fine.
There's not anybody in your generation that hasn't lost, and
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. It's terrible.
Yeah, it happens. I admit I experimented with drugs when I was younger. It's been over a decade now since I've actually touched anything but cannabis. But the it still is a big part of our society. You know what I mean? I'm a graduate school. I graduated from business school. You know what I mean? Like I shouldn't have to deal with those types of situations, but it's just so ingrained in our society, that and you are hitting the nail on the head there. It really is because of the pharmaceutical companies. It's not because of anything happening on the legacy market. It's because of corporations that are profiting off of this. That's why I'm also happy that you kind of made the segue already, that I kind of screwed up with my little rant and rave here. But I'm eager to talk to you, Barry, about this new House bill that's going out. And you mentioned it before, but like legalization of cannabis, really, I see that as the first step of getting rid of this epidemic, right? And I look at this House bill, right, and a lot of people are saying that there's like some major baby steps going forward, right, or major steps forward for the medical marijuana industry. And I want to propose a question to all three of you. Reading it, kind of going over it, I see maybe like a couple of things that are good for doctors, where like there's telemedicine, right? There's a little bit more doctor education involved. I don't know if that's like, I could see how a doctor could consider that a bad thing. I could see how a doctor consider that a good thing, but I really don't see how it's advantageous to patients. And I really don't see how it's like advantageous to legalizing. And that it's just kind of saying we're not going to take steps back. That's really what I see it saying. We're not going to do a 10% cap.
Now, actually, no, we're not going to say it's not that step back, but the actual course going back to the 6 or 8 hour course is a step backwards, because we had that at the very beginning, and they segued it into just a rules and regulations course that was 2 hours long. I think that would be a step in the right direction, because, I mean, Barry obviously is very, very educated on the drug,
And,
but everybody else who's coming in there who may have been anything from an
and,
anesthesiologist to a periodontist
and I
coming in here.
actually want to say something before, and totally give Barry the floor here to comment on this physician education stuff. But I could see how it would be a good thing, though, because I mean, Cano, Gary, you guys are talking about how the dispensary doesn't know about cannabis, and how the dispensary doesn't know how the patients, should use cannabis, and that the only form of knowledge I see there is the doctor. And if the doctor is poorly educated, I don't think a 7-hour course is going to educate them enough, by the way. But there's no continuing education courses. This isn't taught in medical school. People like Barry had to learn on his own, so
Still
I
learning.
could see how a little bit of extra
Still learning.
education can be good, but
You
and
know
I'm
what?
sorry, Barry, please go
No,
ahead.
it's all good. Listen, still learning. Happy to speak to it. So, just to give everybody some background, there's a group of doctors that meets literally every other Wednesday, and we have for a number of months. And I want to give a big shout out to Charles Felix and Eric Stevens, who have been helping and coordinating on that. And we actually have a name for it, kind of informally, Florida Medical Marijuana Physicians, group. And listen, there was a hole when AMPA went away, so that's a whole nother show. But we've been meeting because we've learned that if you don't stand up and protect and work within the system to the best that you can, then you really don't have any voice at all. And we've never had a seat on the board of medicine, at any level, or the OMU doesn't have a council of doctors or any of that. So we've really demanded a seat at the table just by consistent pressure and involvement. So Representative Learned has actually met with the group. And we met with him individually as well. And Gary, I chased him down when I was up in Tallahassee last week after the news conference. He was walking to get his suit tailored at Nick's Tailoring. I think it's $5,000 a suit and up or something there. I don't know, too rich for my blood. But he's wonderfully dressed. But anyway, Learn has been meeting with us. So just from that education standpoint, guys, I'll just make this comment. The doctors in general that do this right now are sick and tired of those that don't. And if you go to a doctor for your cannabis card, no matter what price you're paying, and you're not getting some education about, and I say it's three things, okay? If you've never used cannabis in the past and you're what we call a doobie one in my practice, never done, and the doctor doesn't mention the endocannabinoid system, the endocannabinoid system and what it does, and THC, that's first, and then THC and CBD and all of the other cannabinoids, right? Not just THC itself, but what we call the duality, that is THC. And listen, Jeff Block last week, guys, I want to give you guys a major shout out because I listened to the whole show. Dr. Block last week, and I know he's going to come on again. He told me in a week or so. I mean, he did a great deep dive last week, guys, on all the cannabinoids, and it was awesome. But my point is, if your cannabis doctor doesn't at least mention, okay, that THC and all the other cannabinoids, right, and not just CBD, but CBC, CBG, CBN, right? And then the third thing is, if that doctor doesn't mention, okay, that there are multiple routes of administration, that it's vaporization or the smoking of cannabis, the inhalation techniques, the sublingual tinctures, the edibles, the patches, the creams, the suppositories, God forbid for, prostate cancer or horrible Crohn's or whatever. But if you don't get at least that bare minimum out of your doctor visit, then there's disrespect to the patient as far as I'm concerned, quite frankly. And once again, no matter what price you pay, and my message is you typically get what you pay for, okay? But you're not getting the education that should be delivered in every visit, okay? And it's not only a disrespect to the patient, but it's a disrespect to the plant, okay, that we know can be a miracle medicinally for patients that come in that really do need it, okay, as medicine. To those patients that are coming in as what we call doobie threes, or those that are legal adult users of cannabis already, illegal, unfortunately, still. Right.
Let's call it presumptive because eventually it'll be legal.
I think I'm a patient now, but I used to be a doobie three.
Coming in off the legacy market itself, guys, is the right thing to do now, because there's literally a social anxiety disorder about the illegality of it. And in 2021, every knowledgeable, educated, commonsensical person knows that cannabis is a better substance than alcohol, Ativan, Xanax. Listen, if they take the healthcare worker, and let's get back, I think, Gary, you mentioned it earlier. Let's get back to the healthcare worker. The healthcare worker is smarter than the average bear already, okay? They're using cannabis, okay, to get through COVID, okay? Nobody should be using too much alcohol, Ativan, Xanax, Ambien to sleep, okay? And this is what's really going to piss me off, okay, is after COVID time when they start putting some of these healthcare workers on Prozac and Lexapro and all this stuff because they seemingly have anxiety or depression because they've held way too many hands of people who have been dying needlessly through COVID. And, we could do another whole show on vaccinations and all that, and I'm a believer in them. But my point is the healthcare worker needs safe access to cannabis. They can't have the anxiety, okay, of their job security and their licensure security. And that's what's important, guys, about legal adult use as we go forward. The legalization of cannabis in your state means nothing if you don't have the appropriate job and licensure protections to go along with it, right? Which is why I'm willing to work along within the system right now, because we have a long way to go in Florida, that even as things go forward, we know it needs to get done right with expungement, of course, and rights and protections. And Gary, your bill, of course, protecting people on the transplant and healthcare side is a great start. But we all know we need baby steps here. But just getting back to the educational side of it, the doctors in the state that do this appropriately, we don't want them just hiring people off the street and having them take a 2-hour course. And the doctor doesn't even know anything about the endocannabinoid system. And you know what? Some of the people that hire these doctors don't demand that their doctors even care, quite frankly. And that pisses us off, the ones that are out there doing it appropriately. So that's my soapbox on that one. Everybody should get the appropriate education. Oh, my point is, and listen, here's the Doobie 3. The Doobie 3 needs the right orders. Okay, and let's talk about the rolling flower recommendation, everybody, as long as we're on very topical starting tomorrow topics. Is everybody heard and seen that there's a new Omu policy where
it's a new policy, but it's an old policy because this is the way it was supposed to work originally. They just kind of like fixed it.
We don't know what it is. It's always been, as we know,
wait, it's like less, like the roll around is 35 days now or something like that.
It's always been 2.5 ounces every 35 days, but you weren't supposed to allowed to be able to possess more than 4 ounces
yes,
at any one time, which is, of course, completely, they're not able to legislate that. A lot of people, and especially now with the sales and the discounts and people find a specific cultivar.
Here's the thing is that I do dabs, so I don't have to worry about this this small amount of flour. My THC is gonna stay strong. It's such stupid policies, Barry. Like it's so dumb.
So my point is moving towards legal adult use. I just want to get this in at the top, and then I'll go into the Learned Roach bill point by point. The bipartisan nature of it, everybody, I'll be honest with you, is what I do like about the effort. Chris and Carlos, believe me, you guys know, and I was the doctor in the Joe Redner Right to Grow Your Own Cannabis case, case in the state of Florida, Dustin Sulak. They brought in from Maine. I was so raw at that time. I knew nothing, but I was absolutely ready, willing, and able to stand up, for Joe's right to grow his own cannabis. And I stand up for that right today.
However, did you get that job?
How did I get it? Through you, Gary, I believe.
Hey, here's my thing about the bipartisan thing is that the Republican representative is Roach, who's always been just against what we're doing. And I don't know what it is. I remember seeing something where it's like, 10% caps may be a thing of the past. Maybe it's time to jump on the band.
Politically.
I think this guy being the Republican representative is proof that this bill is not really going to do anything for us. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Listen, Gary, you and I don't know if Carlos and Chris, if you saw the first draft. I know, Gary, you did. And the first draft, and this is important, everybody, the first draft came and from a lot of sources, not just the doctors. And Gary, thank you so much for what you do. And I mean it. And I hope your bills get a sniff out of committees. The visitor bill, the hospital protection bill, every bit of it, everything that you do is so valuable. And I mean it. The doctors, we had our agenda, and every one of those agenda points was in the first draft of the Learned Roach bill. They were all taken out. Job protections, if you read that first draft, was number one in the bill. There was a veterans card and a pediatric part. There were added qualifying conditions. And there were like 4 or 5 of them. It was so stupid, but at least they were mentioned. Remember, Gary, there were like 5 or 7 states that got some reciprocity in there.
Yep.
My point is all that stuff got stripped out because it's not going to happen. And listen, let's go there because I'm happy to go there. The reason that this bill is being proposed is because of what they want to do on the hemp side. And I'm not betraying any confidences. This was an open meeting when I was in Tallahassee. We sat down with Representative Mazzullo, who was principal, of course, in bringing the hemp bill last year. Dr. Mazzullo, the only remaining doctor in the House of Representatives, and he's met with us too, the doctor group, on Wednesday nights. His disappointment, quite frankly, in the direction of the hemp space, so to speak, was profound. I could see it on his face. He discussed it. And it stems from the unregulated, nature of the hemp derivatives that are now being sold. And, Carlos, I'm going to stand right up and say it. You have every right to make a living in Chillum. You know I love Chillum. I've been to Chillum, and next time I'm in Ybor, I'll come to Chillum again. And I'm not going to put words into your mouth, but what they want is your product that you're selling in your store to be safe and appropriately labeled and state tested. And, we sat down with Holly Bell for breakfast, not this past tally visit, the first tally visit, and she described what she wants. And many people heard it, so I know I can speak to it. They want a state level regulatory safe in Florida or Florida fresh or however they want to label it. That's going to make the wholesaler that's selling your product to you make sure that they're selling you what they are, right? And listen, whatever level of added expense that puts in and regulation that puts in is just a fact of where we're at in Florida right now. And that's kind of how I speak to the bipartisan nature of it. Just getting back to it, if we can get telehealth back for recertification patients, not for new patients, just for research, and I'll speak to why that is too, and why the doctors don't mind that. There's groups advertising, guys, all the way through COVID zone that they'll do new patient visits via telehealth. And anybody that's listening right now to this, show that has been put into the registry for their first visit via telehealth and has never seen a doctor physically, is not in the registry legally or inappropriately. And I don't care about the doctors and the groups that are doing that. I mean, they have their own issues and problems. I worry about the patients, quite frankly. And I fear that there are many patients. I won't put a number on it. And I know because I've gotten these patients from these practices that have put patients in illegally. So, many people want new patients, via telehealth for expense reasons and convenience reasons. I just fear that right now in this market, there will be way too many people taking advantage of it because people are taking advantage of it already. But if we can get telehealth back, that'd be great. The other thing, guys, that is in the Learned Roach thing for patients, cards go to 2 years and the visits go to 240 days from
8 months instead of 7. Yeah.
Okay.
It goes to, hang on, one more thing. It goes to 240 days in between doctor visits. Why is that important? And this was explained to me because I didn't get it until it was explained to me. It aligns 3 doctor visits in every 2-year period of time. Okay. But things that the doctors wanted, veterans cards for free, pediatric card for free, multiple caregiver status, home grow, of course. Those things are only going to come, and then I'll get off my soapbox. These things are only going to come in a bipartisan way as we go forward. It's the only way that can happen. And do I trust Representative Roach? 100%? Of course not. That's why we're involved. That's why I'm going to stay involved. That's why I'm going to make sure that we're up there every step of the way. Listen, what we're concerned about right now, everybody, is a dose cap limit coming down from the Omu. That's not a legislative thing, okay? That's a rules-making thing, an emergency rules-making thing. Anybody that's in the program that gets the 400 milligrams a day in inhalation that we typically order in my practice, if the OMU would automatically say that, no, you can only do 200 milligrams of inhalation a day, everybody needs to know that the form to ask for an exemption has never been produced to the doctors. So there's so many things, so many holes that exist in the system that we're just trying to kind of keep things together the best that we can and move forward in the political environment in which we exist. And, that's my soapbox. That's why I like the bipartisanship of it. My state senator, Joe Gruters, is supporting it as a co-sponsor on the Senate side with Chevron Jones on the Democratic side. And I did speak to Joe about it and sent him the bill. So I'm not going to call myself kingmaker on it, but I'm not going to say I didn't have anything to do with it at all. So anyway, that's my feelings on the bipartisan side.
Yeah, Chris, did you want to weigh in on the bipartisanship at the federal level in regards to whether or not those bills are moving forward faster than the ones that are coming strictly from the Dems or strictly from the GOP?
Well, one of the biggest pieces of bipartisan legislation that came out that's been introduced this week is Representative David Joyce of Ohio and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York have introduced legislation to incentivize state and local governments to expunge criminal records of those who have been previously convicted of marijuana offenses. This bill is called the Harnessing Opportunities by Pursuing Expungement, or the HOPE Act, and it seeks to appropriate $20 million to the U.S. Attorney General for the purpose of financially assisting states and local governments with the process of reviewing and expunging cannabis convictions. So, the bipartisan effort, represents that growing consensus that, marijuana policies have to be reformed in a manner that address the harms inflicted by prohibition. And I look forward to seeing that. Now, also, when we mention bipartisan, we have dueling legalization bills for the first time in history in U.S. Congress. You have a Republican representative from South Carolina pushing a legalization bill. You have the MORE Act, which is sponsored by Democrats. You also have Democrats in the Senate pushing the Cannabis Administration Opportunity Act. So there's a lot of different bills moving around. But I can tell you one thing that's not working on a bipartisan manner is the SAFE Act. That's the act that would allow banking language, which was supposed to be and was included in the House of Representatives version of the National Defense and Authorization Act, the NDAA, and the Senate essentially in a bipartisan manner killed it. So it's not the Senate version. We will not see safe banking and legal cannabis business banking happening this year, and that is very disappointing.
Yeah, I was really sorry to see that. Yeah, I was sorry to see that. And on the veteran side too, Chris, there have been some defeats too with the veterans research side and stuff like that. Really disappointed in all of that. Representative Mace's bill, coming out in the House, to me, the most important part of it is that it calls for descheduling. And listen, I think we have to start somewhere at the federal level, and if we can't let them settle for rescheduling and a compromise and have it popped into 2 or 3. That's a setback for everybody. So I love that part of the Mace bill. It doesn't give a lot of the social equity side, a little bit of the expungements, but not nearly what I know the Democrats want. But I encourage everybody to accept the descheduling aspect of it and go from there. To me, that's, as my good friend Dr. Mike McKenzie says, when there's a multiple trauma, the first step is the airway and the ABCs. To me, that's descheduling at the federal level. The sooner that happens, the better for everybody and everything.
Dr. Berry, if we could take a second look, there's one thing that we have not talked about in HB 679. That's the Learned Roach bill around, cannabis regulation. And this is the sticker of me. This is why I have an issue with the bill. I'm not in support of the bill currently. And that is the Medical Marijuana Testing Advisory Council. So could you speak a little bit more about that and how you feel about that?
Yeah, it's interesting. So the Testing Advisory Council is a council that's set up from different appointments from different people. I saw Nikki Fried gets 2 and the governor gets multiple and, various people. No doctor necessarily, though, was called to be appointed specifically. Just on the other side, we do get a member on the pattern review board at the Board of Medicine level, which we never had a seat on. So the testing council is interesting, Chris, because I'm not sure exactly what it is that they're focused on, be it the testing of the products in the testing lab world with appropriate labeling of the terpenes. And of course, listen, I know there's been kicking around on Facebook the past couple of days. Gary, I know you commented on it. The mold, that may be coming out of some of the dispensaries. Pictures to me are hard to know what's really going on, to that extent. But so the testing is interesting. But I think what you're referring to, Chris, is what they're going to comment on as far as the testing in the workplace and the testing at the driving level and stuff like that. And I'll be honest with you, it's interesting. That panel is non-paid, and you don't even get payment per a DM or for travel or any of that. So
I have the same deal.
Interesting.
I got it. I am really confused.
But I think I'm still volunteer to be on it. Just because of that aspect of wanting to be involved in that conversation of what roadside testing is going to look like, what any kind of see, because to me, what we need logically is an impairment scale, a universal impairment scale for alcohol, for drugs, for cannabis. Because in general, any universal impairment scale, cannabis user, and listen, nobody should be having a cloud of smoke pouring out of their car, driving when you get stopped by a officer, or God forbid, Patty and I had a horrible auto accident on Sunday, and we weren't, using cannabis at the time. But the point is, we did have cannabis products in the car because we had just stopped at the dispensary. And guys, you'll be really happy to know that they were in the packaging from the dispensary because we had just been there, and I didn't have 1 ounce of angst in my craw because of having cannabis products in the car. The other guy had turned into Patty and I, so he was going to be cited. It wasn't our fault. But even if it's not your fault that you get stopped for a headlight or whatever, that's why I encourage everybody for Christmas, okay? Get your card. And listen, we can talk that all day, where we're going with legal adult use. I will pledge to everybody who's watching today, as a doctor, my goal is to bring legal adult use to Florida in the fastest and safest and most educated way that I can. I think that's why I've always been able to come into the rotation and speak to the doctor issues. I'll tell you what pisses me off, guys. And this is an entire another subject, and I can't wait for you, Carlos, to weigh in on it. Delta 8 products are Delta 8. They're not Delta 9. And as I explain it to patients, and I had to start this conversation, guys, with my patients over the past year because they get confused now, because they'll see big THC signs pretty much everywhere and they won't exactly know what it is. And even my do before patients that have used cannabis every day of their lives for the last 40 or 50 years, they don't know what Delta 8 is because they haven't had to. Delta 9 THC has always been their friend. It was their friend when it was a 6 or 7% product in flower. It's a friend now when it's 23, 24%. It was a friend when you had to take the sticks and the seeds out, roll it down the tray. And it's a friend now when if you find a seed, you're thrilled. Okay. But THC, Delta 9 is everybody's friend. Delta 8 THC, as I explain to my patients now, and 10 and 6 and others, but 8 is the most common that everybody sees now. It's a key that fits into the lock, but it doesn't turn to open the door the same way that Delta 9 is. And my point is, we don't really have the research yet on Delta 8 to actually know exactly what it does do. Thank God it's never going to turn off anybody's respiratory system. Thank God it's not spice. Gary, I don't know if you saw the poison control alert about spice that's causing bleeding. And they're calling it a cannabinoid too, which really pisses me off. Okay. But anyway, Delta 8 is Delta 8. It's not 9. Doctor offices, okay, that sell Delta 8 products to patients new into the medical cannabis program as a means of increasing their bottom line, to me, are disrespecting the patient and the plant. In my humble opinion, I think if you're a new patient to cannabis, okay, I don't think, or a new person using cannabis, I don't know, to me, Delta 8 products are not where I want to start my medical patient. And Carlos, I know you have every day people coming in that have not had access to good, clean Delta 9 product. I got it. And they're going to buy a Delta 8 product and you're chilling them. And you're every right to do it. And I respect your right to do it. But I know you want to have quality product in your store. But my point is, for a doctor office to start a patient who's never had a cannabis experience before, in Florida, if it's 5 days or 10 days, you have to wait for your card and the stuff for the Omu. If you want to start them on a high quality CBD product, and I don't have any problem with that necessarily, I do have a problem with Delta 8 being your first entry into cannabis. I don't think that's respecting the patient or the plant. So
We're
I don't
trying
know.
to develop some kind
I
of consumer confidence behind Delta 8. I don't have that right now because I don't know if people are making it in their basement in non-sterile conditions. I used to work for Park Davis many years ago. I know how clean those rooms are when they make the medicine. But here, if you're using this as medicine and it's being made in somebody's bathroom or basement or something of that sort, or people who use too much acid to go ahead and acidify the plant to bring out more Delta 8, who are not using laboratory standards, is this going to be a step
here
forward?
here here okay, so
That was
here
my soapbox.
I'm gonna get on my soapbox for a little bit here.
I felt his,
So
his toe tapping. I knew this was going to come up.
he sees me fidgeting in my chair. So I want to start off by saying, Dr. Gordon, you are absolutely right. I 100% agree with you. I don't think Delta 8 should be anybody's first advent into cannabis. Unfortunately, I think the way that our legal system is set up, it's just the right way for a lot of people to go. Now, I'm gonna go off on a few topics here. First off, right, let's talk about the safety of Delta 8. Again, you're absolutely right. I feel that it's very important, right, for us as reasonable, logical adults, not to dismiss criticism, right? I think it's very important to learn from criticism. I think it's very important to grow because of criticism. So the key to the receptor system, that's very insightful. Oh, Dr. Gordon, you're absolutely right. I think everybody's first jump into cannabis should be Delta 9 THC. I think it's important that the reason why the four of us are here is because Delta 9 THC is prohibited, right? That's the main reason why all of us are here, right? We may be going different ways on how to approach legalization or this system or whatever loopholes or whatever's happening. We might be going different approaches, but that's why we're here. We want weed to be legal, right? And I am in no way going to say that Delta 8 takes precedence over Delta 9. As a matter of fact, I sell Delta 8 right now because I can't sell Delta 9. And it's simple. Now, as far as the House bill is concerned, right, I think this shouldn't be prohibited. I think probably the reason why we're in the situation we're in right now is because Delta 9 is prohibited. I think prohibiting Delta 8 is actually going to cause people to go and try Kratom, to go and try Spice, to go and try K2. And I can guarantee you that Delta 8 THC, Delta 10 THC, THCO, and even THCP is going to be much safer for you than Kratom, Spice, or K2. Right.
Now,
That
kratom is not
hold
adulterated though when it's
hold,
sold, right? It's just dried.
I don't know what. I'm not going to get into Kratom right now. I'm on my
Okay.
rant, Gary. So on the House bill, right? I think the way that this House bill approaches hemp is very irresponsible. I really do, and I think prohibiting hemp in any way would be very, very bad. And I think this House bill is capable of doing that. Now, if I could get a guarantee from our government that Nikki Fried and Holly Bell would remain the head of the Department of Agriculture and this part of the system, right, for the rest of my tenure in the hemp industry in Florida, right, I would be all for this bill. I really would. But unfortunately, I don't think Holly Bell and Nikki Fried are going to be the head of the Department of Agriculture much longer. As a matter of fact, I pretty much promise you that. As a matter of fact, I think there's a pretty good chance that we're going to get some conservative people in there. And the way that this register your product with the Department of Agriculture with no guidelines on what a safe product is, right, in this bill is going to be horrible. I think as soon as we get new people in there, CBDs is going to be the only thing that's going to be allowed. Delta 8 is going to be restricted, and all of these other products are going to be
Like Texas.
restricted too. And then medical marijuana is also going to be restricted still, and people are going to go to Kratom and K2. And I think we really need to look at this from a real logical standpoint here, and really not just think about what's litigious, what's safe. If I can't say that, it's really important to just say that just because the product can potentially not be safe doesn't mean that it's reason for it to be prohibited. I think that's a reason for it to be regulated. I think that should, more clear guidelines on that should be in this House bill. But I think we're giving up hemp, right, for uh, really not much on the medical marijuana front. We're taking a baby step forward when it comes to marijuana, and 5 steps backwards when it comes to everything else. And I really don't. I can't. I'm gonna stand with Cano here. And the idea, I wasn't aware that you could be fucking tested on the side of the road soon for marijuana. Like, that's fucking ridiculous to me, man. Like, there's no way I can get behind something like that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they're working on swabbing your mouth to see if there's any residue of THC as opposed to taking a blood test.
Yeah, if there were guidelines, and let me also put in place too that the hemp industry is already being regulated in Florida. My Delta 8
Really?
products are actually already being regulated. The Department of Agriculture has come and tested my products and checked out my products, taken products away that could potentially be harmful, right? And made sure everything was safe. I don't think that there's a reason why we need to put an extra layer of control on this. I think I think it's important for us to acknowledge, like, hey, this could be done wrong, but medical marijuana can be done wrong. As a matter of fact, it's being done wrong already in Florida. I think we should focus on those things. think we should focus on how to regulate this industry a little better. The MMTC is opening up this business, legalizing Delta 9 instead of focusing on hemp. Who cares?
Now, there are MSOs, especially the ones that are involved in California, who actually not only produce Delta 9 products, but also have Delta 8 products. Nug, if you're at all familiar with them over in California, the CEO was one of the first lab owners in California. And basically, they have a very high quality Delta 8 product, but they have horizontal integration out there. So he could just be a brand and go into various stores and not a matter of being segregated into the practice itself.
Yeah.
But we don't want to see, I don't think, Delta 8 products being usurped by the MMTCs and only sold by the MMTCs.
Yeah, and let me bear in mind too, guys. I've heard how these lawmakers say that they plan on implementing this towards the hemp industry, and really, it seems like paradise. 21 and up, gas station doesn't sell it, right? I honestly seems like the manufacturer is going to have to register their products. It really seems like a lot of the issues are not going to lie on the retail stores. It really does not seem that way at all. But go ahead, Gary. Barry, you're mute. You're on mute.
Gary, I think you muted your mic, Dr. Gordon.
Right. I got it. I did want to mute it because listen, I wanted to listen to everything you guys were saying. It's important. And I don't think the intention of the state right now, even the Roaches, Representative Roaches of the world, if you read the bill, the only thing that's restricted necessarily is the selling of Delta 8 right now to those under 21 years old, right?
Yeah, but it also requires the registration of these products with the department. So what that
which
says
means
to
testing
me,
and COAs.
But that also says to
I
me
can't
that they're not
disagree
going to
with that.
allow anything stronger than marijuana, right? They're only going to allow edibles to be 10 milligrams and up, like things like that. Like I believe this is going to be regulated like the shitty regulations that we have on our medical marijuana industry. It really seems like that. It really seems like that's how it's going to be capable. There's nothing restricting that. There's nothing saying
ironically,
how is the hemp industry safe?
I got it. Every bit of it. And I'm frustrated as you are that we live in Florida and we have the leadership that we do. And listen, elections matter. And that's why I do support Nikki Fried. And everybody knows that, at least everybody that follows me, and I'll continue to. Because elections do matter. But I say it's almost impossible to think about flipping the legislature in Florida, right, to being blue. It just by gerrymandering and everything. That's why I fully support Regulate Florida's effort and, any other effort to try to listen. Home grow is only going to come to Florida, everybody, in my humble opinion, via constitutional amendment. And I want my patients to be able to grow their own cannabis. And I've stood up for that right from the day I opened my practice, and I'll continue to. If you think the legislature is going to give us that, guys, okay, we can bang our heads against the wall until we bleed, okay, And that's why I say that within the system that we have now, I'm going to use whatever power that I have of my practice and my experience and just having an MD behind my name. Listen, doctors only listen to other doctors. So I do have a chance of teaching other doctors about why it's a vital thing that everybody understands what medical cannabis can do. Politicians really don't listen to very much of anybody, but I have some degree of a shot with them. And patients do listen to doctors. And that's why I get angry when doctors don't respect their practice enough to get involved. Okay. And for any doctors that may be watching today that don't come to our Wednesday night meetings. Okay. I know you get the notices. Charles sends them out to every doctor in the state. Let me get to a couple other things in the Learned Roach bill, guys. And so my point is baby steps in Florida. And I just accept, listen, I want job protections. I want state by state reciprocity, and I want multiple caregiver status so we can use it. And I know medical's messed up in a lot of ways, guys, but we're so lucky that we have it voted on by us back in 2016. If we wouldn't have voted on it back in 2016, we'd be Alabama or Louisiana right now, and we'd have nothing. And Chris, of course, that's why you have to be, selling Delta 8 and other products in your store. I wish you could sell Delta 9. You deserve to sell Delta 9 products in your store. But my point is, I want you to be able to sell inhalable Delta 9 products, because edibles to me are not the way that I want newbies coming into the cannabis world. I want newbies coming into the cannabis world with other routes that work a little bit more rapidly and titratably and stuff like that. So there's so many issues that are important, and I want to make sure that I'm in Representative Roach's ear. Listen, guys, I am proud to say that I spoke to him for 10 minutes before the news conference. I gave him a pin. He pulled out my pin at the end of the news conference, and he said he's not quite ready to put it on. But what he was ready to do was give me his cell phone on the back of his card. He's coming into my clinic for a visit, okay, which he will do. Senator Gruters has been into my office. Representative Buchanan has been into my office. And I do that not only for medical, I do that so they can see what cannabis is all about and how it can be an educated, appropriate answer as a substance, okay, of use, not abuse or misuse. Listen, if you want to watch something horrifying, look up the other Dr. Berry in the business, okay? There's a Dr. James Berry, okay, who heads the West Virginia somehow Medical Cannabis Council. Gary, have you opted into this guy yet?
No, not yet.
He's an addiction psychiatrist, God forbid. An addiction psychiatrist heading the West Virginia panel. Okay.
Hopefully he knows the difference between addiction and habituation.
Oh, it is a horrifying hour and 10 minutes, okay, of his presentation, okay? So in a lot of ways, what we have in Florida is what we have. We're going to keep but anyway, they're so fearful of cannabis from so many different angles. But what I see in my practice every day is literally miraculous for my patients who want to use less pharma. And I'm going to continue to be, the trumpet to that extent, but also towards appropriate legal adult use with job protections and expungements and participation of legacy. Listen, one of the worst going on right now, guys, and this is also in the Learned Roach bill. The MMTCs that don't pick up the ball and run with their license, they work that back in. Which is a good thing, I think, for the patients. They also, on the other hand, raised, of course, the non-refundable application fee to, I think, $136,000 or $146,000, right?
Barry, I hate to do it to you, but we're running low on time, and
good.
I just want to.
That's horrifying. That keeps all the little guy out.
I just want to switch gears here. I want to first off say that I love you. I love having somebody that I can talk and converse with on the show and not get upset and be happy to discuss and show mutual respect. So thank you. You're a beautiful soul. And in an effort to thank you for that, we're just going to go ahead and ring in some holidays with you. Awesome. I don't know if you could see that.
Menorah Hanukkah.
But that is a menorah pipe right there, and it's filled with Delta 8 THC. I'm just kidding. It's hemp flower. It's hemp flower.
Yes. Otherwise, I wouldn't touch it because I don't drive disabled.
And I think Gary here should do the first hit here. So just to clarify, though, this is Chillum Scrutiny.
Oh, you didn't. You left the.
You're Gary. You couldn't hear it, but Gary was saying that I picked the guy with the least amount of lungs. I'm just, this is your culture, man. I'm trying to. I don't know. I think I'm being horrible here. I'm sorry, guys. Let's just
Horrendous.
you want to smoke here, Gary? I don't know how
You
this
have
is
never
done.
seen me smoke on air before, and you'll never see it again. I'm not even certain this will go well.
Shit, that's a big fucking thing.
That's awesome. I can't believe that Hanukkah is come and gone already, like earliest ever.
Well, we were supposed to do this on the first on the first day of Hanukkah. We were supposed to do this, and we just we canceled the show. And then the Dr. Block episode ran a little too long, and I wasn't on screen to make sure it happened. I think Abby here wants to take a hit. You want to take a hit? Okay. Abby, our employee here at Chillum, wants to smoke this here.
And Barry, while I'm hitting this,
Here in the
you've
middle,
really got to
Abby.
bring Patty into the screen there. We've been watching her walk back and forth like she's an indentured servant, and we want to say hello.
Hi.
Could you bring her on camera for a little bit?
Hi. How's it going, Gary? I'm like, yeah, you can hardly. There we go. How are you?
All right. Is this hydrangea day or what? What's going on back there?
Nothing. I was just moving some plants. I'm having company today.
Funny, so are we. Just it's all ground.
Okay, so this is a review section of the show,
Yes, he's going to review the product.
and reviewing the Grab Banana pipe.
Cafe con leche? No, dude, not in the microphone.
It's good. It's real good.
No,
This is how you can tell it's working, by the way. I've been told.
Wow.
Listen, I've got nothing to say except I've got the greatest partner. I've got the greatest partner in the biz. And, that is absolutely the truth.
I just wish you guys could smoke this with
And
us.
she's probably a much better reviewer than Carlos, too, I think.
Carlos, have you been not smoking?
Yeah, I haven't smoked a cigarette in like 2 months.
Good job. Yeah, it's 6 months. It's 6 months for me.
Nice.
And although I put on about 6-8 pounds, yeah, it's better than the.
I think I lost weight.
Well,
Good
just
for
watch
you.
out for those energy drinks. They're supposed to help you lose weight like Celsius. They tend to get you on the jittery side, and you don't need to be jittery around Barry.
Right.
No doubt.
So, yeah. So I guess there should be like a rating system for Chillum. So like,
Okay.
5 out of 5 bongs. Or wait, I can't say bong. Water pipes.
There you go. So I had to clear the deck there.
So that's the end of Chillum Scrutiny.
No, listen, we had our green room. If I can give a little plug on Thursday mornings at 8:30, everybody, for continuous updates, just like you guys do. And I love your guys' show. And you guys know I do troll you. I try not to over troll. But and I want to give a shout out. Donate to Suncoast Normal, guys. Donate to Florida for Care. Donate to Florida Can. Donate to those organizations. Regulate those that you believe in. It's the only way things go. And you guys do your time and you put your time out, and it's appreciated by myself and others. So
Barry, how can people get a hold of you though? Thanks for the.
Sure, absolutely. Listen, we're Compassionate Cannabis Clinic. It's VeniceCare.com. We're in Venice, Florida. Those that are closer to Fort Myers, we have our office down there too with Dr. Heather Auld. So I'm easy to find. Thanks.
And don't forget to give us a link to the green room so we can watch that on Thursday.
Yeah, the green room is best found on our Compassionate Cannabis Clinic Facebook page. That's really easy to find.
And I just want to remind you to join the cannabis movement by joining suncoastnormal.org.
Yes.
/membership.
Join us. We're falling apart.
No, we're getting all the money.
With every cough.
All the money goes to legalization. It doesn't go to grab menorah pipes. That's funded by another organization, right? What we none of us take a salary or anything like that. everything goes back to legalization. Everything goes back to we're the only organization really out there that's like writing bills and fucking talking to legislators. This guy's doing a lot of great work out there, and so is that guy out there, Kano.
By the way, Brandis has a bill that has expunction of the records without having it in a recreational bill, which shouldn't even be called recreational bills, but adult use bills.
And
I think that's really the path we should take this year.
And don't forget to download the rotation on Pandora, SoundCloud, Spotify, Amazon Music, and iTunes. Watch the rotation live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. And you can check us out on our website, suncoastnormal.org. Is there anything else, guys? You guys got anything to say?
One more thing.
Yeah.
This week, we're going to have our employee bill posted again by Polsky, and this time we'll have Greco doing the House bill. But it's still, at this point in time, a government employee bill because that's how they want to get started because private businesses don't want to deal with it in what they call just cause situations. So we're going to need some lawyers and we're going to need some doctors to tell the folks in Tallahassee that this bill needs to be expanded beyond employees of the government. It can be done.
And we are exactly 1 month out from our Tallahassee lobby days with Normal. So we are going to be in Tallahassee the 12th and 13th. And, if you want to get involved, definitely visit our website. We'll have some more details up there in the coming days. And you can register to join us for our lobby days this year.
All right.